You are listening to Wicked Psychotherapists, a podcast where two psychotherapists show you that taking care of and learning about mental health doesn't have to be wicked hard.
Hey everyone, this is Tanya.
Hi, this is Erin, and welcome to Wicked Psychotherapists.
Welcome back if you are returning, or welcome if you're a first-time listener, but we love having you here either way.
Yes.
Today, we are continuing. If you watched and or listened to last week's episode, you know that we did an Adam Sandler classic, and we are continuing along in our Adam Sandler hyperfixation, as we often do with actors, actresses, or themes. And we are going to be talking about The Waterboy, which is a 1998 classic.
Yes.
It's a classic now.
And you could always find it on, is it TBS that always has it or something? Like you always find it on TV. Like it's always, like you put on the stations. Waterboy is always on.
There. I'm not sure. I haven't had cable in a long time, but I'm sure
I have it
is.
all. Yeah.
Yeah, it's, something that a lot of people love. There's a lot of great humor, showcases a lot of Adam Sandler and his little crew their talents.
Yes.
And we're also going to focus on, of course, some of the mental health themes because there are some of those present. So, and we'd be remiss if we didn't. Do you want to give your shout out?
Yeah. So this is my husband's favorite movie. And today, when we're recording, it's his birthday. So happy birthday, Todd.
Happy birthday, Todd.
This is, your favorite movie. So hope you enjoy it.
Well, dedication to him falls perfectly on there. Yeah. So let's get into it. So The Waterboy, I have to say, I watched this again over the weekend, as I think you said you did too. I realized and remembered how juvenile the humor is. And it still made me laugh, but I was like, oh man, it really is really juvenile and ridiculous Adam Sandler.
Yeah.
But did you kind of feel differently watching it again from when, maybe watching it before?
Yeah. I mean, there's some parts that you're just like, oh, this is a little cringy. But I mean, I can't even count how many times I've seen this stupid movie. But it's so funny. It is very juvenile. I mean, it is funny because they're all probably like in their 30s when they're doing this movie. Like all of Adam Sandler and his crew. But they're just, it's just silly humor.
Acting like high schoolers, basically. And even the character Bobby Boucher is like working for and then plays for a team when he's like 31 and doesn't even have, he's not even graduated from high school. He doesn't have his high school equivalency. So
yeah,
that kind of fits too.
Homeschooled by mama, and who knows what type of credentials she had.
Yeah. She thinks that joy comes from happiness and rainbows or something. Magical happiness and rainbows. Yeah. That's her scientific explanation. So the movie itself, I think it's when it first opens up and you see Bobby Boucher, my first feelings towards him are just absolute like, aw, like it's just such a pitiful character. He just seems to really, really care about water, making sure he calls himself the hydration engineer. He takes it very seriously. He's got all these different types of water. He inspects it. Sterilization process is on point, and he is just mercilessly bullied by a football team. Very disheartening to watch, but also you kind of can see why he was a target because he couldn't really defend himself. Now, I'm not saying that's right. Obviously, it was not.
Right.
But they just kind of saw him as an easy target because he didn't really know how to defend himself. He didn't really understand social cues or anything like that, or didn't have any social skills. Really.
I was going to say he wasn't really exposed to too much. It sounded like it was just him, his mom, his donkey.
Yeah, Steve the donkey.
Just not really much. He didn't really have classmates, so that's probably why, at a young age, he went to either work or volunteer at the first college football team. To be the water boy.
Yeah, he really just had it's kind of like his origin story was hearing this, which we learn is later a false story about his dad, who he never knew, who went in the Peace Corps and ended up in the desert and passed away because he didn't have water. And Bobby's like, I would have been able to provide him water.
If only I was there, I could have given him his water.
Yeah, it's just ridiculous, but it's funny. So he takes this really seriously, and then the coach, whatever his name is, he's like, just a jerk. He sees his players are focusing way too much on bullying and teasing Bobby, so he fires him. Of course, that's the most logical.
Hey, wait a minute. This kid has been my water boy for over 20 years. Let me try to, stick up for him. But instead he's like, you're fired. And then poor Bobby.
Yeah. That's just like a distraction for them. Even though he's like so meticulous in his skills and really gives all this, instead of being like trying to teach his players like, hey, don't be rude jerks. Let's just fire this boy. And he's like, okay. It just takes it so calmly. Yeah, so that's kind of the start of the movie, and we see that Bobby Boucher has a passion for water, and he absolutely thinks of his mother as the end all be all because that's the way she's placed herself in his life. And so he's like, Mama knows all. Mama always says what Mama says, and that's his creed, his motto for life.
Yeah. Well, she was the single mother, and she probably just really didn't want anything to happen to him, so she kind of really suffocated him too with everything.
Yeah, well, as we learn at the end that Bobby's biological father, Robert, or Roberto as he becomes, ends up leaving and kind of develops this new life. He goes to, I think, Las Vegas or something, and he falls in love and just basically leaves her. And so she sees that as if Bobby tries to leave or develop his own life, he's going to leave me. It's like her own abandonment issues. And she like basically projects that on his entire life and makes him, doesn't want him to be college educated, doesn't want him to really know anything. She's like, when he loses his job, she's like, that's great. You can spend time here with me at home. She doesn't really care that he's just lost something that he really loves. That's his personality and who he is as a person. It defines him. A lot of mother-son codependent issues and projecting past trauma, passing it on to her son, Mama Blue.
He also has past trauma because of, even if it's not a real story, he doesn't know at the time his dad dying of thirst in the desert. So that's always part of him, why he does what he does too.
Yeah. It's like his trauma narrative. Even when he goes to see the coach climb and he sees the bucket that's all dirty and grungy, and he's like, I will do it for free. Just do not serve that ever to any human. It's just like, it's beyond his like he can't handle that. That's not something he could ever conceive of. Clean, fresh water is such a part of his belief system for everybody because of that story of his dad. And he's like, I'll work for free. You don't have to pay me, which is just insane. But and then he goes and he works for the Mud Dogs, and the Mud Dogs, what do? They see this guy that's a little bit eccentric, a little bit, has different ways, and they're like, let's pick on him. Let's show him, let's welcome him and knock over all his water stand that he just carefully set up and was trying to titrate the water and sterilize it.
Yeah, spit in it, and which is so gross. So you're spitting in the water you're going to drink.
Yeah, I was thinking that too. I'm like, what? Like, really, these are oafs. They really don't understand that, like, okay, you should have served it to them then.
Yeah. And then that made him start thinking of what happened to him when he was just a little boy. Same thing. I think that's what sparked the anger in Bobby.
Yeah. Same guy?
No. I don't think. Maybe, I don't know.
A father or something? Because he looked like he had the same crossed eyes in the memory. Or maybe I'm remembering that wrong. Maybe he was remembering it.
Yeah. I don't think so. Or maybe they had the same actor just play somebody different.
Yeah, they were like, whatever, you'll do.
Yeah.
You've got that crazy voice.
Yeah.
But yeah, and I think that also that's where Bobby first recognizes, well, actually, Coach Klein recognizes that Bobby gets so upset that he ends up sacking this dude who spit in the cooler, and he's, oh my God, this guy's got skill. And so he can take some of this anger, this frustration of being bullied and put down his whole life and put it towards being a good football player, a good defenseman, and being able to tackle people. And that really appeals to Coach Klein because the Mud Dogs suck. They're like always in last place, and
drunk.
The cheerleaders are just drinking out of like a bourbon whiskey bottle, and they're just passed out laughing.
We'll just get drunk in the stands,
which is just kind of hilarious. It's like even the cheer squad has given up. They're depressed and they're drinking. Bobby realizes, oh, okay, I can kind of use, which is kind of like a therapy skill, right? Sublimating, using some coping skills to say, hey, rather than being stuck with some of this anger and acting out and maybe just, tackling my professor like he does. That was probably not a
Mhm.
good use of the coping skills. I'm going to use it in a game where that's really advantageous
Yeah.
to the team and to my skills.
Yeah.
Which is something I think we talk about with our clients, right? Being able to say, hey, if you have this difficulty and this is kind of difficult, maybe you can transfer some of that over there.
And it's not always healthy to keep it in. Like where Bobby probably always was like, all right, yes, okay. Just not really encouraged to express anger or show anything to bullies. So by letting it out, yeah, it's probably not the healthiest, but it is way healthier than just keeping it in.
Because then he's just kind of takes it on himself. It affects his own self-esteem. And then he explodes at the wrong moment, like when the professor tells him, your mama's wrong, and he can't
Mama's
handle that.
What?
he, tackles, he tackles Colonel Sanders.
Yeah, it's like, oh,
Yeah.
everybody's bullying me.
Yeah, he recognizes that setup of like, oh no, I'm back in the same place.
Mhm.
What do you think of the Vicky Valancourt or Valancourt? What do you think of her character kind of coming in? And I know when he first brings her up, I guess he's known her from as when he was a kid, and the mom's like, "Stay away from little girls; they're the devil."
Yeah,
And
Vicky's
she
the
thinks everyone's
devil.
the devil.
Oh, I mean, like Vicky obviously probably has some stuff going on in her life because it sounds like just got out of jail when she sees him again and stealing the sports car, whatever she does. But she seems like her best interest is always for Bobby. So she sees Bobby as the sweet boy, sweet man, and is probably someone who's totally different than people she's been exposed to. And so there's some reason she's drawn to Bobby. And I feel like her intentions are true, like to protect Bobby.
Yeah, I think so too. I think she maybe has kind of overly aggressive tactics, but she means well for him. Like she really is very, very protective. Like with the scene where he's taking the high school equivalency test and she has the sign saying, "Do you want me to kill them?" like
And he's like, no, 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 I'm fine.
that wouldn't be good. No. Oh my gosh. Yeah, and so I think that she does seem to be fiercely loyal to him. Like she does see something in him, but when she comes over for that barbecue, Mama Boucher, Helen, whatever, Kathy Bates, yeah, whatever, she's always Kathy Bates to me, but she just does not approve of this girl because
Right.
she sees it as a person who's going to take her boy away, right?
Right.
And then she starts embarrassing him, which I thought was so manipulative and emotionally
Yeah.
abusive to be like, "Oh, did you see his sheets? Like, do you know what he does? Like, do you know he wears these types of like embarrassing pajamas, like cartoon pajamas? Just that's his sheet and showing his like key-ridden, you know, sheet,
Yeah.
which is
And
just
then Vicky,
disgusting."
she's just like, she's probably disgusted the whole time, but she's like, oh, that's fine. I love superheroes. I love this. And, she's like,
The
okay,
people know she was like, "All right."
I'm not going to say I love that he pees the bed.
Yeah, that's a little too far, where she was like, I'm still with him. I'm still here." Yeah. But yeah, that's and then that the scene where they're eating and she's barbecuing the little alligators and they're just like mini. I was just like, "Oh, that is so disgusting." I was kind of curious. I wonder what that was made of because then the actress or Vicky takes a bite of
Yeah, it's the head off.
of one.
Yeah, I'm sure it
Yeah.
was
I wonder
probably
if it was
just
like shit like gummy bear-ish type
maybe
stuff or
some candy or
yeah.
something
I was
a
kind of curious
cookie.
about that. Yeah. Because I think I wanted gummy bears at that time and I was like, I wonder if that's a gummy bear. It's like a gummy bear flavor. I was in the mood for gummy bears when I was watching it. Um, but yeah, I think she's fiercely loyal and she does see something very different than, she's kind of rough around the edges. So she's probably met a lot of characters who they didn't mean well. And she sees that he does. He does mean well. He's like a good person. He maybe doesn't understand things and can't really stick up for himself, but that
Mhm.
he really is truly a good natured person. Yeah. So I think that's, kind of matched there. And he likes her because she's nice to him and she's, just kind of different, kind of has some wild ideas. I also like that she can fix things up. She's very mechanically inclined.
Yeah, and it's interesting too because she's a really strong woman and independent, and so it's interesting that he's drawn to that where his mom is too. His mama is very independent. She had to be independent since Roberto left them.
Like they're similar characteristics, but they're different because I think he senses, and this is going way too deep for the Waterboy, but this is what we do. That I think Vicky is someone who wants him to be able to do what he wants to do, whereas his mother, Mama Boucher, is very smothering and
Yeah.
wants control over
Yeah,
him.
Vicky sees like he's having fun on the Mud Dogs. He likes playing football. He's able to be honest with her and tell her that he's doing it, where he tells his mama that he's gotten attacked by a gorilla or whatever.
Oh my god. She puts up the wanted sign of wanted and just a drawing of a gorilla and then like dollars.
Like, what is she going to do when she gets him?
Like yell at him or kick him or what? I don't know. What are you gonna do? And I don't think anybody would be like, oh, if I saw a gorilla, yeah, I'm gonna go and
I'm going to go get it for you.
But I don't know. Who knows? Once again, this is the Waterboy world, and we're just going way too deep with it. But it is hilarious. We do see Adam Sandler's crew in there, right? You got the Rob Schneider and
The same guy that was in the same. Let me pull it up really quick. Yeah, the same Peter Dante. He was in Mr. Deeds, and Rob Schneider is a usual. Henry Winkler, I think, is in a couple of. I feel like we see Henry Winkler in some other movies that they do together.
I think so too. That sounds right. Who's like the Fonz? I mean, like that's just not.
And Henry Winkler is really great in this movie too.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
and he has a lot of psychological stuff going on too with his bully, Coach Red.
He kind of has a history with him that we find out where basically Red stole his plays that, Coach Klein had made up back in their early days when they were both up for the head coach job. And Red just aggressively took it from him and was like, are we going to have to use force? And took it, got the job.
What I really like about that scene is they didn't even try to make them look younger.
Mm-hmm. I got that too. Oh my god, that's so true. And the wigs were so horrible. Like he's got this like poofed out hair that just looks so much like a wig, and it's not even like the same color. Like it's just ridiculous.
So funny.
And they've got like wrinkles and stuff, and they're like, we're like young coaches.
We're in college.
Which I think is like, that's part of, I love that in Adam Sandler's movies, they don't try because they just want you to laugh at that. Just so ridiculous in and of itself, which just makes it even funnier. Yeah, so that really is, he does have an issue. He kind of never really stood up against Red, so whenever he sees him, when he's playing against him, when he senses like, oh, he's using those bullying tactics, he kind of withdraws and has that same kind of feeling of like, I can't win this and get put back into that place.
It's just like when the whole football team comes on their bus when the Mud Dogs are celebrating their win, and Coach Red calls out Bobby Boucher for not having a diploma or whatever and saying that he lied. Coach Klein doesn't stick up for him. And then when Bobby finds out the truth, it's, he's really upset, like, why couldn't you stick up for me? But it's going back to Coach Klein was back to that young adult feeling like, here's my bully and I can't stick up for him. So instead of standing up for someone who I want to, I can't.
Yeah. Trauma affects you in a lot of ways. And he said, I ran in here and I cried under my desk like a 10-year-old little girl, and
I cried and cried and cried. Yeah.
Yeah. It's, and then what's kind of ironic is it shows Bobby's personality and his character. He helps out Coach Klein and helps him to kind of deal with his bully by, visualizing him as a little baby and being like, oh, he can't really do any harm, or as like a cute little puppy, then it helps him to kind of push through that. So again, Bobby's kind of doing some therapy with other people. He's kind of pushing some visualization exercises.
Well, and he sees too that Coach Klein helped him with those visualization. Yeah, then Bobby's like, wait a minute, this worked for me. Let's make Coach Klein see a little baby or little whatever, little puppy or something, so he can start doing his plays and he's not as intimidated.
I cracked up at the image of the baby, especially the dog. When the dog came on, I laughed so hard because it was just so out of place, and it was like these ears, and it was just this little Cocker Spaniel, and he was like, oh, and I was thinking like, oh, it does look cute, and then I was like, oh my gosh, this is so funny. It was just so bizarre. And he kept looking at him smiling, and Red's like,
are you smiling at me?
So there's a lot of themes in here with bullying, mother-son relationships, how trauma can affect you, how being in a codependent relationship with your mother and your mother being you in that can affect you. But also with Bobby Boucher kind of overcoming that and being able to show that he does have this capacity to be this person. He was kind of being held back, and he wasn't really given the opportunity and the chances for this. And even learning in school, he gets really upset at Colonel Sanders and tackles him when he says Mama was wrong. But then it seems like he's really kind of taking on those courses and is learning something from it, because later he's like, alligators are angry because of an elongated Abdullah oblongata, or
Yeah.
medulla oblongata. Oh my gosh.
I
You know what I mean? That
no one's
part
gonna
that they
no one's
named.
gonna call you out on it. And
Medulla
instead of just being honorary or whatever.
Mama says it's because they got all those teeth and they can't brush their teeth. It's kind of funny, but yeah. Um, it really is like he's kind of like noticing, oh wow, I've been kept in this world, but I still love my mama. At the end, he
Yeah.
still, you know, still respects his mom and still understands that she went through a hard situation. That's why she was trying to son close to her.
Speaking of being close too, like then, you know, when she finds out the truth that he was playing football, that's when she fakes this, like this illness or whatever,
Oh, yeah.
in like a fake coma. It's just, very, again, trying to control Bobby so that he has to quit football, but also stay with her.
Yeah. I'm like, "Oh, you're gonna destroy me if you do these things," and then when she hears all the people outside his window being
Yeah.
like, "Oh, water boy," she's like, "Oh, maybe I have been
Yeah.
treating him too
Yeah.
selfishly."
People love him.
It's really funny though in the hospital room where like Steve the donkey is allowed and then like her whole bed setup is allowed and like
Yeah.
just her canopy bed and all her crap is in there and it's like basically I at first I was like, "Oh, they got back home? Like that's weird." And then I was like, "Oh, they're still at the hospital. She just made it her own." Yeah. That was accepted. But that's the world of Adam Sandler is, just this ridiculousness and this silliness, which is just always fun to visit. We are looking at, of course, some of the therapy skills and themes in this, but obviously this is just overall a really
It's
funny movie that
still holds
watch
up.
that.
Again, if you have cable, you'll see it on like weekly. It's on something. I don't know. It's just Adam Sandler. Like I said in Mr. Deeds episode, it took me a while to get on that Adam Sandler thing because I was like, oh my God, he's so immature. But he's so funny. And now that I understand Adam Sandler, they're pretty much almost all his movies I love.
He's always, there was just a phase where he was completely, absolutely ridiculous. He maybe matured a little bit, but in different, not really. He still shows his immaturity in a lot of different ways, but it's just hilarious and his perspective. Yeah, and I do think that he is really skillful in being able to take on these weird, goofy characters and just humiliate himself and make really silly, funny movies.
Yeah.
I don't know if he's working on anything right now. Is he still?
Well,
kinda
there
doing
is,
the-
we did talk about this. Like, there is going to be a Happy Gilmore 2.
right.
So Tanya and I are going to be doing Happy Gilmore 1 and 2 in the near future.
Yeah,
And
'cause
also,
that's
if
a
you
good
guys have
one.
any other Adam Sandler movies that you can think of that, because we do get the fan mail and we do read it. And if there's anyone that's like, hey, what about this? We'll do it.
For sure. For sure. We would love that because he's hilarious and we can always find some mental health themes in there. Of course, you may not want to look at it from that perspective. That's just kind of what we do, but we just really enjoy these movies. They're fun and it's a good break from all the stuff going on.
Yes. Yeah. Kind of watch The Waterboy.
Yeah. Some fun stuff. It was nice to just last night, Sunday night, it was just kind of like, hey, this is a nice decompressor after watching various other shows that I was telling you about. that I
Yeah.
don't
Tanya
wanna watch again.
watches a lot of dark stuff, which I have too. We've been
stuff.
watching some dark series, but I like comedy.
Yeah, it's good to you definitely, especially with the nightmares I get from the true crime stuff.
Yes, maybe you should make sure you don't watch that late at night or
I tell myself that, and then I end up just doing it, and I'm like, I won't, and then I do it.
just 2 more. Yeah.
Yeah, I get kind of hooked on it, but that's just me and my own issues. Anything else that we want to add to the Waterboy, which is
I think we covered most of the
really
topics
fun.
that we had said we wanted to. It's obviously spoilers, but again, this was released in 1998 and
Yeah. Almost
it is a
30
good
years old.
movie. It's not politically correct, of course, but it's funny and it's a good movie. It's Adam Sandler.
Yeah, there's definitely going to be the 1998, and not, of course we don't excuse this, but there are some, terms that are used, some things that are probably some people, maybe that grew up in a different generation that are younger, probably would be like, wow, that's really
Hurtful.
awful the way
Yeah.
he was bullied, the names he was
Which
called, and the
which
things
you
that were
wouldn't.
allowed.
Hopefully, people don't call people anything like that now. And it's not right. It was a different time.
it was something where I think that was kind of thrown around a lot. Should we get on to our I'm not gonna say this is a fun question, but it's an
Oh,
interesting one.
okay.
Well, it's kind of a gross one. So
Oh.
it's cuisine based. Okay.
Oh, gross.
So
Okay.
if you had to choose between eating the snake in the movie or the alligators, which would you choose?
Well, the snake, at least she sliced it. She gave Coach Klein the kneecap or whatever she said. And the alligators, I don't know how else you eat the alligators except how Vicky did. Just go right in it and just eat the head. I don't know. They're both so unappetizing looking. I guess if I was forced, I would choose the snake. What about you?
Go the other direction. I would
Oh.
choose the alligators because I know that there is alligator meat that, people have told me. I think one of my sisters said she tried it and it tastes like chicken. She had it when she was visiting Florida a while back. And I just picture that may be more palatable, but I don't think I would eat it the way Vicky did, but I think I would probably go for that because the thought of eating a snake is like the innards just like
Yeah.
the texture just
Yeah,
makes me sick.
both of it just seems so gross. I would just ask Helen, Mama, if I could not eat. But
She would be very insulted though, because that's her specialty cuisine.
yeah, you fresh catch, whatever I catch.
Yeah, that's her thing. It's
Yeah.
her specialty. Oh my
No.
god, I'm like picturing that snake on the table just makes me absolutely
Well,
ill.
then they're gonna have
ugh.
squirrel for dessert, so that's also yummy.
Yeah, that was caught in like that light thing, and she was like,
Yeah, squirrel.
"Squirrel." Yeah. So I mean, to each their own. Maybe some people do eat that, whatever. I just personally, it doesn't appeal to me.
I mean, no,
Um,
I'm sure most
I
people.
also think if people were to eat that, it would be served very differently,
Yeah,
right?
I don't think you can have the full snake wrapped up with an apple in some mouth or however it was.
Yeah, and the alligator probably would be like in pieces, not like in
Ugh.
whole, like not the baby.
Yeah, and you wouldn't see the
alligator.
babies. You'd be like, "Oh,
Yeah.
babies."
We wonder what, if you have an answer to that and some explanation, but that's our thoughts on not only cuisine that is not appealing to us, but also a
Yeah,
movie. Let us know.
And I have seen people eat snake on like Naked and Afraid and stuff like that when they have to, and I think
Yeah.
Survivor, but I don't know.
I think I was judging it based on the way it was served
yeah,
in the
but-
movie.
Oh yeah, definitely
Like,
disgusting.
that's what I would do.
Yeah, so gross.
But if it were served up differently, maybe my opinion would change, but
Yeah.
just in the movie, I'd probably go for that
Yeah,
alligator.
I'd have to do the snake.
Yeah. Yeah. If you have any thoughts or anything that we missed out on or anything you just want to add, if you love The Waterboy, if you hate it, if you don't really care, if you just want to watch it and see, if you're of the younger generation,
Yeah,
your
first
thoughts,
time.
or maybe third time, but watching it at different times, let us know. Because my opinion was definitely very different. I used to just kind of cackle at this when I was
Yeah.
younger, but now it's kind of like, this is stupid, but it was like a stupid laugh, like
Mhm.
but it's still funny. It's still very enjoyable. So yeah, so make sure to follow us on socials. We are on everything:
Yeah.
Instagram, Facebook, and even YouTube.
Just
if
look
you
up
wanna
Wicked
see
Psychotherapist.
faces. And don't forget, stay wicked.
And keep your mind well. All right, everybody, have a great week. Bye-bye.
Bye, guys.
Stop it.